you doing? It's your boy BrogiNaric back again with another review. In this video, I'm going to be giving my spoiler for The Batman, which was directed by Matt Reeves. This will be a non-spoilers for a little bit, and then we're going to go full spoilers. So you've been warned, but I'm going to start off with non-spoilers. So this movie was, like I said, was directed by Matt Reeves, who is a popular director. I've only seen one of his films, which was the second Planet of the Apes movie. But I know of his, other stuff that he's done. And when this was announced, people were disappointed because a lot of people really wanted Ben Affleck to get his movie off the ground, which I was one of those people. I would have loved to see his movie, but we didn't get that. We got this. And then, of course, there's the controversy with Robert Pattinson playing the Batman, which was, I think, this movie's biggest hurdle. Or at least, it was, for some people, it would be this movie's biggest hurdle. For me, I was like, let's see where this goes. Because I'd seen some of his movies I've never seen the Twilight films, but I was like, okay. But the rest of the cast, I was pretty okay with. A little iffy about Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman. But after seeing this film, I must say, this is a really, 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 really good Batman movie. Like, really good. Like, some people say it's the best Batman movie. In terms of live action, my favorite is Batman Begins. In terms of live action Batman movies, I might have to put this movie ahead of Batman Begins. I got to see this movie for a second time, but I got to say there's a couple of things in this movie that it does better than what Nolan did in all of his movies with this one movie. One of the biggest and bestest things about this film, I think, is the tone and the way it is shot. The cinematography in this film is really outstanding. Like, it is beautiful. It's also kind of a negative to a smaller degree for me. I think it's a little too dark, like not the tone, but like the color of the screen at times. There's a lot of shadows, and I think it's a little too dark. They could have raised that light just a tad bit, but it does work with the mood of the film with, Batman being hiding in the shadows, or he could potentially come out of the shadows at any moment because he does live on the fear element, which is another thing that this movie, I think, does better than what Nolan's movies did, where Nolan's Batman, especially in Begins, he talked a lot about being feared and using fear as a weapon. And he does do that in that film, but I think it's showcased even better in this movie. There's a lot of similarities between this and Begins, and I think it kind of goes in a different direction than what Nolan did. I would jokingly say this is one of the Batman movies Nolan could have made if he actually didn't hate comic books. But because surprisingly, it's grounded, but it's still comic booky at the same time in terms of what they reference, which I thought was really good. That's the other strong point of this film. This film takes a lot from various Batman stories, especially a lot of various Batman origin stories, very much like the MCU where they'll have the title of a comic book, but they don't actually adapt the comic, but they'll take bits and pieces of it and do their own thing. I think this is one of the best Batman movies to take various parts of different Batman comic books and make a very good cohesive film. Like, it was like surprising at how well they were. Like, when they made certain things in the story, I was like, oh, I know where that's from, but they switched it this way, and it just really worked. It was just amazing how well it worked. Now we're going to talk about performances, non-spoiler. Robert Pattinson, he's going to be divisive because his Batman and his Bruce Wayne are distinct from other versions of Batman and Bruce Wayne. He's not funny. He's not a super jokey guy. He's actually pretty much a spoiled. He's pretty much a spoiled brat, whether he's Batman or Bruce Wayne. But you have to remember from the story that this movie is telling, it's year 2, and he's a different Batman or Bruce Wayne, where he hasn't really developed the dual personalities. Like, he's just focused on fighting crime. He doesn't care about being seen as a recluse or being seen as a playboy billionaire. He doesn't even care about the company. He's just focused on potentially solving who killed his parents, but also trying to save the city. He does not care whether people like him in or out of the suit. And that includes Alfred as well. He's a dick to Alfred, which might rub some people wrong because they may have just be used to the Michael Caine Alfred, but like there's been a long history in the comics and even some of the cartoons where Batman's a dick regardless, whether it's Alfred, whether it's Gordon, whether it's Catwoman, whether it's Robin. He's just an asshole, and they kind of playing off of that. There are some, moments where him and Alfred do gel, but their relationship is much rougher. But I enjoy Pattinson. I think the biggest drawback for me in his Batman is the voice, because he also hasn't developed a Batman voice yet, and there are moments where he's doing the voice, he's not doing the voice, in and out of the suit, which might be hit or miss with some people. It works, but he needs something. That's something for him to get better at as the films go on. Zoe Kravitz as Selena Kyle, amazing. I was doubtful of her being able to pull off this role, but she killed it. God damn, she was great. She was great. I think she's the best live action Catwoman, which is not hard to say. There's a bunch of them, but not all of them are good. I would say she surpasses Michelle Pfeiffer. I really do. She was great. She was actually a cat burglar who actually had cats, unlike the Nolan version. The suit was cool. Her fight scenes were really good, and how she fits into the story worked really well. The overall story is like a crime, like a crime thriller, but it's just Batman as the lead detective. Like if you were to watch a random crime thriller that focused on like a PI trying to solve a case, it's like that, but it's Batman is in the suit and stuff like that. And they did a great job of just doing a detective story with Batman, which is rare to get in a live action movie. And the mystery was cool. Jeffrey Wright as Commissioner Gordon, well, not Commissioner, but as James Gordon, flawless. Just flawless. He killed it. He was the one when they casted him. I was like, he's gonna kill it. He absolutely did. There's some really good moments and interactions between Gordon and Batman, and a lot of them teaming up, which I was not expecting. Like it's almost like a buddy cop movie. Like, but the midway point of the film where they're working together, that stuff was great. Colin Farrell's another standout as the Penguin. I was worried when he was first cast because I was like, he looks nothing like the Penguin. Then we see him with the makeup. Oh my God, amazing. I hope he comes back. I know they want to do a series with him. I was worried about it, but after seeing him and the way this movie ends, I need that series. Him, the GCPD series, the Catwoman series. I need all of that. And also, lastly, Paul Dano as the Riddler. Yeah, he did really good. This version of the Riddler, I like. They did some cool shit with him as this sort of weird Zodiac killer, serial killer guy. And Paul Dano kills it. Like, I know a lot of people was giving him praise before I saw the movie, and I'm like, he's barely in this, but when he has his moments, and when they happen, boy, does he takes, man, he steals the scenes, man. He's great. He is fucking great. The soundtrack, awesome. The score, amazing. Cinematography, awesome. The action, really good. And another thing about Pattinson's Batman, his Batman is more grounded. He's not super ninja Batman, so he's not as fast, but he's still very brutal. For a grade, I would have to give it, as of right now, an A, 10 out of 10. I fucking loved it, man. It was great. It touched on a lot of things I hadn't seen them do in a Batman movie that I always wanted to see, like some minor stuff, but it was cool that they actually finally did it. And I'll get more to that in spoilers. But yeah, those are my overall non-spoilery thoughts. So now I'm going to get into spoilers. And if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to hit the like button, share this video, and subscribe to the channel. We're still growing and we could use your help. So thanks for doing so, and let's get back into the review. So, Pattinson's Batman, I think, is really good, but can also be improved on. And that's also the point of the story. You know, it's year 2, he's still getting it together, he's still wonky. He doesn't have a lot of tech. He had more tech than I was expecting. The whole island, the contact lenses with the cameras and the facial recognition tech, that was really cool. Very reminiscent of detective mode in the Arkham games. What's the other? The single batarang is whatever. That was fine. He had little mini explosives. He had the grappling guns that he can just with the derringers on it. That was cool. I like that. And he had the adrenaline that he shot in his leg, which was green. Some people might think it's venom. I don't think it's venom. They could hint that it is venom. That would be nice. But I like that. That was interesting. He has the adrenaline to keep him going because he does get tired because he's a regular guy. He's still pretty grounded. I was surprised at how much of the movie was him in the suit and him, and not just him in the suit, fighting, but him in the suit trying to solve the case. Like he's at crime scenes with the cops and they're like, what the fuck is this guy doing here? Like that's how crazy the city is right now with this random asshole in the bad suit is just at crime scenes helping out. But we don't really see that often in the live action films. Him and Gordon working together, Gordon vouching for him, Gordon standing beside him and Gordon just going at it, like Riggs and Murtaugh at a crime scene or investigating. Like that shit was great. That moment where they was at the after the funeral where he woke up in the police station, he got to fighting with the cops, like all of that was great. And him like acting like he talking tough to Batman, but he's trying to tell him like, hey, you got to get the fuck up out of here, take these keys and run up the rooftop. Oh, great stuff. Him and Zoe Kravitz, their chemistry on screen is really fire. The moment where I realized this was going to work was that scene where he follows her back to the mayor's house and she's breaking in to get the passport and they get the fighting, and then he stops and grabs her and holds her behind the wall to keep her quiet while the cop was coming in to do the check-in because he heard the bumping around. Like that was the moment where I was like, okay, this is going to work, because the way she played off of it, the way he played off of it, where he's looking at her and like they're getting together, them working together was cool. I like how she's in the story where she's trying to find out what happened to her friend. Was that what she kept calling her? Was that her friend or her girlfriend? Because there was the other girl that was there. I think that was her girlfriend, and then the friend that died was just her friend. And she's like trying to get revenge or vengeance for her, and also get some money out of it too, because it seems like they probably was hustling. I like there's a lot of influences from various early comics. There's some Batman The Long Halloween influences with the whole Falcone stuff and the mob bosses kind of getting out of the way for the rogues to come in. There's that vibe. The politicians being exposed for certain things, people getting bumped off. There's some Batman Year One-ish stuff going on, especially with Catwoman and who her dad is being Falcone. With some of the early Batman still getting together, the early days of Gordon and Batman's relationship. A lot of scenes of Bruce in sort of street gear doing some work and skulking around. Like that stuff was cool. A lot of Batman Earth 1, if you ever read that series, where it's another origin story of Batman. The whole thing with his mom being in Arkham, that's definitely from Batman Earth 1, and where his mom was Arkham, and that's like she was crazy and the family's crazy, and that's kind of like Bruce is a little crazy. Like I like that they're hinting at that. That was cool. Thomas Wayne being not as good of a guy as he's led to believe to be. I like this. That's a new phenomenon recently in certain stories where it's like, okay, usually Thomas Wayne is the angel and there's other versions where he's not so good. This is also reminiscent of the Telltale series, where in the Telltale series, Thomas Wayne was a piece of shit. Like he was working with Falcone, and even the story of him saving his life, that's from Long Halloween. That's also from the Telltale game. But in the Telltale game, he was straight up evil. Like he was legit using his power for bad reasons. In this, he used his power to try to save the well-being of his family, but he didn't realize that Falcone would go to the extra level and kill the guy. And then I like the duality of Falcone being like, well, Maroni didn't like it, so Maroni probably is the guy that had your people killed. But then, him talking to Alfred, and Alfred's like, well, actually, your dad was gonna tell the police, and Falcone didn't like that, so maybe Falcone did it, or it was just a random thing. And they give you various things of what it could be, because they don't expressly say who it was. Was it Maroni? Was it Falcone? Or was it just a random guy? We don't know. And I kind of like it more when it's just a random guy. They did that in the Earth 1 comic too, where he thinks the Penguin, who in that is the mayor, had his father killed because he was running against him. but in actuality, it was just a random guy. And I think it's better when it's a random person because it's like the city is so chaotic. You know, anything can happen, type of shit. Any bad thing can happen. But yeah, those are some great stuff. Andy Serkis as Alfred. He's not in it as much as I thought he would be. But you get a little sense of his Alfred. He's definitely based more on the Earth One version, where he's more of the hard badass to a degree. Although you don't see him show it, but there are some lines where he's like, you know, he helped train Bruce to fight. He does come off a little gruffer. He seems more like a bodyguard than like a manservant. Although, because you know he's got the old lady. Now that I think about it, the old lady's there. Maybe she's Aunt Harriet. That just clicked into my head. She's Aunt Harriet from the fucking 66 show. That's who she is. Son of a bitch. See, I love this movie even more. There was that moment where Riddler was targeting Bruce Wayne, and you see Alfred with the bomb, and I'm like, did they fucking kill Alfred? I was about to get mad, but no, he survived. That's a thing that does happen in this movie, where there's explosions like 3 feet away from certain people, and they just survive. Like, Alfred and Batman definitely have plot armor. That was a bit ridiculous, but you know, they're the main characters. I don't need them to die. Paul Dano as the Riddler, really, really good. The creep factor, especially with that suit, is high. Those moments, especially in the beginning, where he's in the shadows, and you see the reflection off his glasses before he hits the mayor upside the head with the what did they call it? The little carpeting, the tucker, the tucker, whatever the hell that thing is that you use to pull up carpet, which was a very odd weapon, but it, you know, plays into the mystery. The overall mystery was good, exposing the crimes of Gotham City. That plot line I understood. That was good. That's also very reminiscent of Batman Arkham Origins video game, where the Riddler is trying to expose the corruption in the city, and he views him and Batman as equals. Like, he thinks they're both, you know, could work together, or they're both on the good side, but like his ego and his ego just takes over, and his narcissism takes over, and he starts to hate the Batman because the Batman is outsmarting him. And that's hinted at towards the end of this, where he actually meets Batman, and he thinks him and Batman are kindred spirits. I love him being being an orphan, and him, the duality of, you know, Bruce Wayne being an orphan, and he has no sympathy for him because he's like, yeah, your dad died, but you still was born with $1 billion, so like you got to spend all that money. I'm an orphan, and I grew up in a shitty building with 30 kids, and in the wintertime, the babies would die because it's too cold, and I wake up with my fingers getting gnawed on by rats. Like, that was interesting, like, an interesting dynamic between the two. And I love how you think he knows, like, Riddler's smart, but he's still not smart enough to know who Batman is. And I love that trick where you think he knows, but he actually doesn't know, but he plays it up like it's revealed like he's calling Batman Bruce Wayne, and Bruce is like doesn't know how to respond because he sees the camera. Like, just great. That was great how they played that off. And his reactions when he realizes like Batman isn't, he's like, oh, you're not as smart as I thought you were, you know, like that felt like some great Riddler stuff. The action sequence towards the end where he's saving the city, I loved it. I loved all of that. And I know some people are complaining about the length of the film, which is weird that a lot of people I'm hearing are complaining about a 3-hour movie when a lot of people was hooting and hollering for the 4-hour movie of the Snyder Cut, but the 3-hour version, and even after the fucking Endgame, like I'm hearing more people complain about this than they did with Endgame, but whatever. I thought the pacing worked out great. It felt like a 3-hour long episode of a crime drama that you can watch on Netflix or something. Like, the pacing felt fine to me. It didn't bother me. I got to see this movie for a second time, but I had no problem with the pacing. But the event at the end where he's saving the people in the Coliseum thing, that was cool. That was different. I like that this didn't end with just them fist fighting on a rooftop or some big blue laser in the sky, or we gotta stop the giant monster. Like, it was a little more academic for Batman. Catwoman came in to help him out a little bit. That was cool. Like I said, some of the fight scenes with him fighting those guys fighting those fucking insurrectionists. They were basically insurrectionists. Like, I want to know where the Riddler was on January 6, 2021, because yeah, he's definitely very anti-government. Granted, I don't blame him because Gotham City is corrupt as shit. But yeah, that was cool. And of course, when he cuts the power line and he falls in the water and he's like helping the people out, that was some great stuff. He's got the bat flare. That's the other gadget he has, the bat flare. Beautiful stuff. The moment where he's like holding his hand out, he's waiting for them to take it, but it's like the orphan kid that he saw at the beginning of the movie that he resonated with was the one that went to him first. Like, beautiful stuff, man. All the scenes where Catwoman and Batman are working together, where he's, using her to get into the club inside the Iceberg Lounge, great. Just great. And then, like I said, their dynamic was really good. I think this is the best representation of Batman and Catwoman we've seen in live action, even better than what Burton did. I think this felt more like what it's usually traditionally thought of as in the comic. And I also like that Batman didn't kill anyone and none of his villains got killed, except for Falcone. Falcone got the fuck up out of here. Which was another great moment where you think Penguin shot him, but it wasn't Penguin, it was the fucking Riddler, who was like across the street the whole time. He was across the street of the club the whole fucking time. All the riddles were cool, the mystery to them solving it. Like I said, he's like, oh, me and you were working together. I put it out there and you go, you're much stronger than me. So what he said? Some pointed, some angled aggression, like some fine-tuned aggression, at a certain direction, it gets shit done. And he wasn't wrong. And I liked how this is another way for Bruce to grow, because now that the city has been, not destroyed, but it's been, going through a natural disaster with the flooding, this is now a way for Bruce to rehabilitate the family's image by making a new charity fund that is actually going to help the people. Because, it's hinted at, like, you got money, you could be doing more instead of just hanging out in your mansion. You could actually be, donating and stuff like that. And I think that's going to be more of the philanthropist Bruce, but he's also going to get a chance to work on his, playboy side as well, because, he's not known to the people. He's still mysterious, so he needs to develop that other personality. The Batmobile. I didn't talk about the Batmobile is lit. My favorite Batmobile is 66 Batmobile. If you can give me a real physical car as the Batmobile, I'm gonna love it. And this one was awesome. That chase sequence, beautiful. It was also pretty grounded, where they got on the highway and Penguin is like stuck behind semi trucks and shit. And he had to figure out a way to get away. Really good. And going over the ramp, and that scene where Penguin crashes and then he was upside down looking at Batman, and Batman's just slow walking with the fire behind him towards the car. That shit was so cool. You can't tell me that wasn't cool. You cannot sit here and tell me that shit wasn't cool. God damn, that shit was cool as hell. In terms of comparisons to other Batmen, Pattinson's really good, but this is only one movie. It's hard for me to compare him completely to Ben Affleck, because Ben Affleck kind of had like part of a movie. He didn't have his own full movie to really get into the character. He had like essentially part of a movie and some other small roles in the Justice League films. So, and they're different types of Batman. Two different performances. I think I'm leaning more towards Pattinson. That's also because I got more see him develop more. But Affleck definitely had a different look. Their costumes look different. I love this costume. I love the Dark Knight Returns costume that he wore in the BVS. But their Batmen are different. Pattinson's, like I said, is much more grounded. He moves a little more real. He's not super fast. He's not super ninja. And his suit makes it more like a tank. Even though Ben Affleck's Batman was jacked like a tank, Pattinson's Batman operates more like a tank, where his suit is armored up enough to take certain shots that he's not going to be able to move out of the way of, as opposed to the way Snyder did his Batman, where he's more like a comic book heightened version of Batman, where he can move, he can be, 270 pounds and still move really fast and do all the ninja shit, which is cool. Like I'm not denying that. Like both are cool. I thought both the action was handled very well with both versions. So yeah, it's debatable. I'm gonna lean a little more towards Pattinson because we just get to see more of him a little bit more of him and out of the suit. Now, Affleck definitely had the billionaire playboy stuff down, although granted he was like old drunk billionaire playboy, but whatever. But yeah, just great stuff. Overall, solid film. I need to see it again for a second time. The bit at the end, I guess some people are also a little upset about the Joker cameo. I thought that was good. I didn't hate it. The fact that they barely showed him that he already exists, that he's just locked up in Arkham, I thought that was cool. I guess some people are upset because they're like, "Oh God, the next movie is going to be the Joker." I don't think that's what he intended, because even Matt Reeves said that wasn't the intention that Joker's next. It's just this is what the city is. Like Joker, like if you thought Riddler was bad, Joker's already here, and there's going to be others coming. And I feel like they're going to probably build to like maybe a third or fourth movie where there's going to be multiple enemies, like on some like Hush type of shit going down, multiple rogues, villain rogues coming. I can't wait for that. But I thought it was a good moment where the Riddler and Joker had that little laugh of insanity at Arkham Asylum. It was cool to see Arkham Asylum. We don't always see Arkham Asylum, so it's good to see another Arkham Asylum. Hopefully we'll get to see more from this version of Arkham Asylum. I forgot to mention the funeral scene. Funeral scene, great. The intensity of that with him answering the questions and then the explosion. Good shit. But those are the main things. The next villain I would like to see, honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing, since we just had the Riddler on his sort of terrorist bullshit, I wouldn't mind seeing Poison Ivy as an eco-terrorist. So like in the animated series, like she doesn't have the plant powers just yet, but she has the poisons, and she's like making biological warfare type bullshit. Like I wouldn't mind seeing that. Something like that would be cool. Or you can go a little more fantastical, because I do want there to be superpowered characters in this world. I don't want this to be just another straight lace, like barely any superpowered beings. Like, no, I want some superpowered people in here. I really do. I want maybe a Man Bat or Mr. Freeze, Clayface would be cool. Something like I want to see more superpowered characters, not all just regular people who are losing their minds. I want to see superpowered people losing their minds, and I want to see how this Batman's going to deal with it. But he's definitely going to need a tech upgrade as well. And but yeah, overall solid film. I really did enjoy it. Let me know what you thought about the Batman in the comments. Is it really good? Is it overrated? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What didn't you like? What did you like? Is Pattinson the worst Batman since George Clooney? Let me know how you feel. I don't know. How the hell are you feeling? I want to know. Let me know in the comments. But thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more videos. Peace.